Is there any good news, John?
Well, I think that cautious optimism.
Yeah.
I mentioned that before. You laughed, and then you laughed again. You're not.
Yeah, we had a laugh about that because it's sort of.
The reason I say that is because there's been, I mean, since the beginning of the pandemic, all the experts who read spreadsheets all day, every day, I mean, most of them got it wrong. So
they certainly did.
Yeah, and I read a lot of the data. So, but based on what I've read, I think things will settle down in the second half of this year, more the third quarter of this year. I think that if they can get a grip on inflation, that will. Hopefully the handbrake will come on any future increases in the interest rates.
Interest rates. How can we describe them? Brutal comes to mind. I was in a situation.
I think it's the case of how do you avoid falling off the mortgage cliff? And that's a big concern for a lot of people.
So
people coming off fixed rates. I mean, it's highlighted. There's a lot of people coming off fixed rates this year, and that's obviously a concern to a lot of people. People should be preparing themselves, and there's been a lot of talk for a lot of time. I think there's going to be people who are in denial. I think many will weather the storm at the end of the day and be okay. But there'll be others who will default with their loans. It's as simple as that. Hopefully, the people who default, and there's not many of them, but there is concerns that banks want to make sure that people can service the loan at the end of the day.
Well, I was just fortunate to have you in my corner because when I was able to get my most recent mortgage, I had to initially go in with a low doc.
Yeah, people are going to look
before coming across. Thank goodness. But now I'm looking at the rate from the low doc that I was complaining about.
Look, people are going to fight and tough it out, because they've built up plenty of equity especially over the last 3 years. I mean, There's been obviously drop in certain areas.
Yep.
So people are going to. There's been some big gains from people, even though there's been some recent losses.
As a consumer in your space, though, a big change in rhetoric from the bank governor, the Reserve Bank governor. It wasn't that long ago he said interest rates wouldn't be going up for 5 years.
Well, I guess he would be thinking, I wish second thoughts came first.
That's very Jack Gibson like.
Well, mate, it was pretty.
That's very good.
It was it was one of those things that obviously came back to bite him.